My name's Dave EPLEY. I think I know a lot of people here in the room. So excited to have you here at our annual Green Building Symposium and Expo. At DCRA, we've been working pretty hard on this one this year. We have, as of last night, over 400 people registered, 25, 26 vendors, something along those lines, and they're great. You'll have plenty of opportunity to check them out. We have a bunch of educational sessions going on today. Many of you are speaking. A lot of the best thinkers and minds in green building at DC are here. I'm really excited about the conference today in general because today it's really focused on DC, what we do here at DC. In the years past, we've thought a lot about, maybe what the national, outside of DC, our international world is doing. We've looked at, more forward ideas, more like I would say, like stuff like, even like eco districts across the street, or a lot of like super deep green, high energy performance stuff. And we've looked outside of DC, and this year, I feel like so many great things have happened in DC. We can really talk about what we have done, what we're doing, what the process is, where we're headed. DC is truly a leader in green building and just sustainability in general, whether it's at the building scale or at the community scale, as everyone knows from the Eco District Conference that's also happening right now as well. So we're definitely in the limelight. And actually, the following year about this time, we'll be having Green Build here at the Convention Center, which is incredibly exciting. The city will be very involved with that. A lot of you will be very involved with that as well. And yeah, so we have a lot to look forward to. So today is somewhat of a celebration. It's also talk about what we've done. It's things like that. So I'm going to speak here for a little while. Then we'll have a couple different welcomes from our directors, the deputy mayor, and the mayor will be here shortly as well. So once again, my name's Dave EPLEY. I manage the Green Building Division at DCRA. We've been around for the Green Building Division for about a year and a half. We were started and formed under the leadership of former director Nicholas Midget and former Chief Building Official RABBIAH, SABBAKHAN, who's sitting right here. DCRA, we do a lot of different things, but primarily, we're a regulatory body. And there's some really exciting and new regulations that have happened in DC as of late. And so this division is really focused on those main things. We'll talk about what those are here in a minute. But first, I'm going to tell you a little more about us. So I'm going to talk about my staff here real quick, they're running around. I don't know if they're all in the room at the moment. But, so I told you about me. Let's talk about Malkia. Is Malkia in the room? She's going to miss her shout out, I believe. She's out taking care of things. But Malkia, when I joined, joined at the same time with me. Malkia is our program support specialist. She's done a lot of work putting this conference and this symposium together. She's really the lead on this. She's done an excellent job, so if you see her, thank her. She does a lot of different things, and as we transition into a division that really is doing a lot more permitting, inspections, and really getting the flow, so as the new codes are happening, her role will be a lot of dealing with intake, processing, documents, and so forth like that. The next person that we got on DCRA is Kimberly Newcomer. Is Kim here? Man, they are all, they knew I was going to do this, so they were not in the room. But Kim is our green program analyst. She does a lot of different things, deals a lot with our tools, education, resources, trainings, putting all this stuff together, and being a rock star in general. David Kaiser is our recently hired green building plans reviewer. So the Green Building Division, I should say, is interesting in the fact that we sort of spread across DCRA. DCRA has a lot of different parts to it, permitting, inspections being the main ones within the building administration. So the Green Building Program deals all the way from preliminary design through permitting, through inspections, and then we even deal with after the certificate of occupancy has been issued and with the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. So we have a very far, deep range touch across projects for a lot of time. So David is really focused on the permitting side of things. And then Keith Winston is our new green building inspector, and he is focused on the inspection side of things as well, so on that portion of it. So two people who do permitting inspections might sound like, well, how can they do all this, but I want to say that the regulation of the codes, the Energy Code, the Green Code, the Green Building Act, is something that is a wholesale change across DCRA. It's not just within the division, the Green Building Division. It's about everyone, all the reviewers, all the disciplines really being fully involved and immersed in the process. When you're talking about the Energy Code, you are dealing with mechanical disciplines who are looking at the sizing of systems, the efficiency of systems. You're dealing with structural, who's looking at insulation and air sealing. You're dealing with electrical, who deals with lighting. So that is really how we're thinking about this. And these two individuals and the division in general is in charge of sort of integrating that into across DCRA and all the employees that we have here at DCRA. So that is the idea and that is the vision. So let's move on here and talk a little bit about what we're talking about regulating. We're talking about the code. So how many people know that there is a new code in town? Yeah, codes, oh right, good. And so the ones we're gonna briefly talk about is the two that we specifically deal with at DCRA, or in the Green Building Division, I should say. So the first one is the Green Construction Code. So I won't talk about the process much. Our director, Mr. SABBAKHAN, will talk about that in a minute. But the Green Construction Code is based on the 2012 IGCC. It has the DC amendments. It is the first time we've ever had one in DC. It is a really huge milestone in the history of green building in DC, in the district, with the Green Construction Code. It's a big deal. We're one of the only jurisdictions across the country that has adopted this. I think at the time of adoption, we might have been the only one that adopted it with all the various sections, at least referenced, are still intact to some degree. Other people have adopted it, but they've dropped us. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning. Good. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. So the Green Construction Code here. Get familiar with it. We'll talk a little bit later. Actually, I would say, so with educational sessions, we have a lot of great educational sessions going on today. And one of them will be focused on the permitting inspections of green. So if you want to know more about that, you should come to the educational session. I won't do here. But around all of these things, we've been making a lot of different tools. This is an example of a flow chart that we put together. The Green Construction Code, along with the other codes, there's a lot you need to think about as you go through this and how your project applies or does not apply. Applicability is very important. So this is one example of that. Here are the various elements that touch on this. It's a green building code, meaning that it touches on all the layers or the shades of green, you could say. Similar to LEED, similar to other programs like that. Looking on the Energy Conservation Code. The Energy Conservation Code, not one to be overlooked. It's been around for a while. This is, previously we've had the 2008 Energy Code here in DC. The new one here. It's Energy Conservation Code, and this is a flow chart that we put together. It deals with, there's a commercial side, a residential side, deals with a lot of stuff there. So those are the two regulations that we really deal with the Green Building Division, in addition to everyone's favorite, the Green Building Act, the grandmama of them, so to say. And move on here. Talk a little bit about some of the trainings and the education that we do here at the Green Building Division. So one thing we've really tried to do is really make bridges with our partners within the district. So we have a lot of incredibly strong leaders within the district. And these are, just to name a few that we've worked with very directly. We worked with AIA-DC, DCBIA, AOBA, the USGBC local chapter, national chapter. I mean, we were very blessed, the people here. IMT, there's so many people, and these are like national organizations that we are able to tap into for their expertise to deal with local issues, which is one reason that we're the leading, or one of the leading green building sustainability jurisdictions in the entire country. So we deal a lot with that, and we work with them on continuing education, whether it's training, that type of stuff. The issues that we train on, we deal with the energy code, we deal with the alternative compliance pathways under the green code, so that's other, because ASHRAE 189.1, 90.1, and ASHRAE, we talk about LEED, enterprise green communities, and we do all this, and that really forms that. And we also do the Green Building Symposium, in case you didn't know. And so, which we're very excited today. So these are all the ways that we deal and we focus in training here at DCRA. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about here is the Green Building Fund. So the Green Building Fund was established by the Green Building Act back in 2006. And it is a fund that comes off permitting fees. And it funds a lot of the work that we do, the majority of the work that we do. Not just us, but a lot of the work that DDOE also does with their grant programs and a lot of the employees and so forth. So it's a really valuable thing. And I know from personal experience, I was recently in San Francisco visiting their building department, and they don't have a fund such as this. And for that reason, the ability for them to move on research projects and grants, on hiring folks, it's just not there. It's not politically there. The political whims change and shift and so forth. We have a designated fund that goes to this, and it goes to this, and it's based on permit fees, so it's based on development. We all know that DC is booming, so it's bringing in quite a bit, and we're able to do a lot of really excellent stuff. And I'm going to talk about that really quickly. So in 2013, we put out a Net Zero and Living Building Challenge financial study, used real projects in DC, looked at the incremental cost it would take to go from how it's currently built, sort of like the LEED standard, to net zero, then also looked at the Living Building Challenge. Also that year, we looked and we did a health study on the impacts of urban heat island and mortality in DC. So as the city grows and as it has grown, there's a lot of hardscape surfaces. We're talking about pavement, talking about concrete, stuff like that, hot roofs. And with that, we retain heat. Like on those hot summer days when you like step out your house at like 10 o'clock at night and it feels like it's noon outside, it just retains that in, and it has serious implications, particularly on the young and elderly. So we looked at that as well. These are all available online, I should say. We also put out our Green Building Reference Guide, which it really, and we did work on that. And this is actually will be updated and out here probably next week, which is really exciting. So we did a lot of work there. In 2014, we took on a lot more. And this should be up actually right now, should be posted. This morning we have what we call our Green Building Roadmap. This is a really cool tool, and it allows for you to go in and put in your information about your building, and it'll tell you the regulations that apply to your building. So I would say I'm a residential building, 30,000 square feet. I'm funded by the city. I'm affordable housing. I put that information in there and say, these are things that apply to you. This is where you need to go investigate. These are the incentives that you can look at that are available, and on and on. Because what the deal is, we recognize that green building is not, it's somewhat complicated to some degree. It's, from the inside, it seems really easy to me, but like I think for people who are new to DC and who are doing development, it's a good thing for them to understand. This project I'm really excited about. These are our green building displays. They will be delivered on Monday. They will be at DCRA. I'm incredibly excited about these, and use a local a company that did these for us. But they're going to be like these kiosk stands that are all about education and green building. This is one here, and it looks all these elements of the green code, education. This is like a touch screen thing that here. So it's going to be a really great educational tool. We use it at trainings. We also have like a pressure house, and one that deals with materials as well. We'll be doing some more the next year. And these kiosks will move and bump around agencies in various places. So they'll be out there doing a lot of great stuff. We also looked at the appraisal industry, looked at green appraisals. And I say we, sometimes I forget, I talk collectively so DCRA and DOE are in tight partnership, and I think green building has brought us a lot closer together. And I want to say that I talk about we, is in deep coordination with DOE. A lot of these here, so starting here with the appraisals, are grants that were handled at DOE, but through the Green Building Fund and through our partnership with them, which I'm really proud to say is flourishing, and I think is incredibly important. There's a lot that's going on there. So this one was done at DOE. It looked at the appraisal, green appraisals, and its assessment. We're continuing on with that, but the point is that if you green your building, if you put solar panels on the roof, if you upgrade the boiler, if you put new windows in, that needs to be reflected in the appraisal for it to be financially sustainable in the long term, or at least that's very helpful in that regard. And green buildings have more value. They have lower operating costs. They are typically more durable. They have longer lives, so that needs to be reflected in the appraisal. So it's about education. We also looked at the multiple listing service. Everybody familiar with that? So you're going to buy a house, and you're looking around, and you're looking at houses, and you're in the MLS right now. You're tapping into Zillow, all that type of stuff. You're tapping into it. What we're looking at here is when you're on Zillow and you're checking out your row house up in Petworth, you're like, oh, can I buy that? Can I not? You're looking at that. Sorry, that was like a personal anecdote. And anyhow, it will also have the green building information here for you. And it'll tell you exactly what the house is using. And we're talking about latching this up to like benchmarking data, solar analysis, all these various things that you can think of. And not even just if you're going to buy a house. If you own a house, you can also look at some of these things too. Two more. We worked quite a bit with the DC Smart Business Challenge, and they're doing this great stuff and really challenging businesses in the downtown to take on green initiatives and put work together. We're also doing this thing called the Smarter Buildings Plan Project. And once I say we, I mean DDOE. And Smart Buildings Plan Project, so looking at how buildings and data and information can be collected and used on the building level. So that was 2014. So 2015 and beyond, so we're really, the wheels are rolling. You know, the train has left the station. It left the station on March 28th with the new codes. And we are just really some excellent stuff. We're getting into the details. We're working with people. We're providing technical assistance and trainings, all types of different stuff. And we have just so much going on. It's really exciting to look forward to see where DC is going to be in the coming years. We have an incredible framework. We have the Sustainable DC Plan, which maps us out all the way out to 2030, 2035, net zero targets. You know, we have all types of stuff going on. It's a really exciting time to be a resident here. And we're really moving towards being the healthiest, most sustainable city or jurisdiction state in, I'll correct myself, in the country. So I'd like to introduce at this point our director of DCRA, Director RABBIAH SABBAKHAN. Just a few things about Robbie. So when I started, Robbie was the chief building official. Sorry, I made you stand up. I'm going to tell everybody about you. You know, when I started, I was reporting directly to Robbie. He was the chief building official at the time. And under his leadership, the program has truly flourished. And without that type of support, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do. You know, whether that's moving money across agencies, whether that is enforcing the codes and standing firm, that stuff really matters. It's really important. And with his leadership, it has been possible. And we've been able to get this through quickly. We've been able to move fast on hiring people, been able to put this together. And before I was there, Robbie was like the one with the green flag too. He was at all the Green Building Advisory Council meetings. You know, he was taking care of all the questions that came in, all the questions about regulations, all that type of stuff. So he's been a true champion for quite a long time, still is, and now that he's taken the role as director at DCRA. So really excited to have him speak with you, and I'll just leave it at that. So.
Good to have you out here on a Friday morning. This, of course, first of all, let's give it up for Dave and the Green Building Program. Now, you know, my staff, you know, some might consider me difficult, hard to please. You know, but I think it's no secret that a lot of the attention that the agency has garnered nationally, I mean, understand that we are being looked at nationally. It truly is because of what we're doing in the green area, you know, department. It's not, you know, as Dave alluded to, it's not just us. It's, you know, working in conjunction with DDOE and the leadership from, you know, from executive. So, but it's remarkable the things that we're doing. But just put it in perspective how far we've come over the years. It seems like just yesterday I was standing here at the Kellogg Center for our very first symposium. How many of you were at the first one? Okay, okay. Yeah, so you see where we've come. And now as interim director, you know, a lot has changed in 2-3 years. We started this out with our inaugural back in 2012. Quiet as kept. When we came up with the idea, the concept for a green symposium, I'll be honest, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. And we were actually, you know, thinking the reaction, you know, based on, like Dave alluded to, you know, my first experiences coming to DCRA, you know, really, as soon as I came in, I was the one that was kind of having to deal with a lot of our Green Building Act was really what we dealt with primarily at that point. But that was new to me, and it was a challenge. But we were maligned for to be honest with you, for our lack of enforcement of the Green Building Act, and we've come a long way. But you know, it just says a lot, you know, how much we've developed over the years. And so, you know, 3 years, we must be doing something right. And I think, you know, our Green Building Program is a very big part of that. So it is indeed a very exciting time for DCRA. It's been a lot exciting year for us as we celebrate our accomplishments and milestones in the past year. We today have a wonderful lineup for you. Really, that's truly what the whole Green Symposium is. It's a tremendous outreach session. outreach is very essential. I mean, we use that term a lot, but especially when it comes to green building, and you tie that with the new green code and some of the new processes, it's very important that you all have a firm understanding of what it is that you need to be doing so that you can get your permits processed quicker and your you know, projects fare a lot more smoothly as you go through our certificate of occupancy. As of last night, of course, we had over 400, so this is growing. You know, we started out in the Kellogg Center at Gallaudet, but I'd like to highlight 3 major accomplishments. Well, first of all, this is our biggest, but I don't want to say this is going to be our best, I mean, because we've got so much in terms of our program later today. But I'd like to highlight 3 major accomplishments this year. But before I get into those, let me just first sincerely extend gratitude for really, I think truly the main reason why this is happening is because of our mayor. I can honestly say from the heart that, and I talked about this at my, you know, as the keynote speaker the first year, you really aren't able, you're not going to be able to do this unless you have the buy-in from leadership at the top. And without question, that leadership has been there. You know, so really kudos to Mayor Gray for all the support over the past few years. And I really say that sincerely. The mayor's been an incredible advocate for green building and sustainability in the district. I was at the, and you all know about the Sustainable DC initiative. I was actually at the first big public you know, meeting that we had here at the convention center, and I said, let me see what this is all about, you know, see what the mayor's talking about. And quite honestly, I was blown away because, you know, you see a lot of, you know, mayors, city managers, directors, you know, especially when it comes to green building, it's more of a generalized, but what I heard from that speech, like I said, it just blew me away. And I actually, that was the beginning of the respect that I gained for the mayor, because I hadn't really dealt with the mayor, you know, when he was in council a whole lot. But again, I was blown away just from the sustainability speech, and it set the tone for his actions over the last few years. And actually, you know, as we mentioned, the whole Green Bill coming up, as DC is hosting in 2015, some of us will be going out to this year's in New Orleans, last year was in Philadelphia. And I sat and watched Mayor Nutter, and you saw the involvement, the major involvement that the city had in Greenville with 30,000. I think we'll get 50,000 this October in Greenville. But it had me thinking, you know, who's gonna represent us, you know, in October or November, whenever it is, this 2015. But yeah, the mayor's done a tremendous job in that area. The groundbreaking work his administration is undertaking with Sustainable DC Plan will impact and benefit the district for generations to come, and that's no lie. We are building a true solid foundation. So I cannot extol our mayor enough for the remarkable vision and leadership he has shown during his term. And like I said, without that, we would not be here today. So I'm very pleased also to have DDOE Director Keith Anderson. Let's give it up. As Dave mentioned several times, the partnership, and it truly is a partnership. I mean, we work closely with a lot of our sister agencies, but I would have to say that DDOE, you know, there's a bond there because we, you know, a lot of our issues overlap, and it's essential that we have a very close working relationship. But the partnership and interagency coordination between DDOE and DCRA has flourished in the past years, and no small debt to the coordination on Sustainable DC and the green building regs that we just put out. Now, Keith, I know you're a humble brother, but if you don't mind, if it's okay with you, can I do some bragging on behalf of DCRA? For DDOE. Now, let me just say this. DDOE is making huge strides in green building. It's not just DCRA. Recently, you know, again, because of the Green Building Fund, they've hired 2 additional building staff to build capacity to address affordable green housing. Now, the mayor, I know, is going to a ribbon cutting after this on affordable housing. That's essential here in the district, as you know. But that's important to have 2 points of contact that are directly dealing with the green and affordable housing. So, and in conjunction with DHCD. One of the key things that DDOE did was provide representation on the Construction Codes Coordinating Board. And I can attest as a board member myself that board member Bill Updike with DDOE, and I don't know if he's here today, I think he'll be in later, did a tremendous job on that board. I can't say that enough. He actually chaired the green building tag, and I knew going into the process of code development that green tag was going to be, the most challenging, just because it was new. And to see, in retrospect, to see what they accomplished, when Bill comes, just give him a hug. That was a lot of work, and Dave and Annika. Actually, do we have some of our green tag members here? I know I've seen Jeremy, Annika, Cliff. You guys need to be commended for all the work that you did. We talk about, it sounds kind of routine to develop, adopt a code, okay, every 3 years. Actually, it wasn't that easy. This was kind of atypical. And again, with the district being the first agency, not agency, but the first jurisdiction to adopt green codes, and we basically made that bold move, and a lot of that work was because of the efforts of the green tag, which is really the most challenging area. So like I said, the codes were adopted back in March 28th, and it really was, it wasn't just your typical 3-year cycle. We started that process back in '09. Really, when it was the day that I sat in the door, they said, hey, we want you to start on code development, which, my previous experience, that was always something handled at the state level, but we took that on, and leapfrogging one code, and the mayor, through the mayor's vision, we decided to go to the 2013 codes. It happened. And one of the result was the strongest and most comprehensive set of building codes in the country, including, as Dave pointed out, the Energy Conservation Code. For the first time in the district's history, the 2013 DC Green Construction Code. For once, we are current in having adopted the latest building codes, and that's really important because, from my experience, the DC has always lagged behind our surrounding jurisdictions in code adoption, and that's very challenging for a designer, for a developer. You're doing work in Maryland, and then all of a sudden you come to DC, oh, they're 2 cycles behind. And so we actually were ahead of our surrounding neighboring states for the first time. So again, that whole effort, and again, it all points back to the support that our administration gave us to make that happen. What's probably more fascinating is really with that whole code development and adoption is seeing how other states have perceived us. We went to the ICC Code Conference. We've got leaving Monday to go to this year's conference in Florida, but last year really kind of opened my eyes to see how many other states were watching us. You don't think about that. And I was in a major jurisdiction with my interim chief building official, Jatinder Kokar, and we were there with other major jurisdictions like Houston and Boston, and I was just kind of surprised that they knew exactly what we were doing because of the green building development, and all of them applauded us, and that just really showed us that the spotlight truly is on the District of Columbia. So I think each and every one of you has a stake in helping just get that attention. So yeah, we'll be continuing our efforts on the Green Building Code. This year's conference, they'll be voting on the 2015 codes. Now, a lot of times at the national level, because these code conferences focus on national committee level type stuff, but what's very important at the state level, or in our case, we're acting as a state, is with the Green Code, by us being the first to really adopt that code, people are really looking at that as an example. Now, it's still kind of premature because we just adopted. It's still in its infancy. But what's really ideal is when you take new code requirements like that or provisions, and they end up becoming part of the national code. So we fully hope that a lot of the things that we adopted, and we had the model code, but part of that green tag, their major task was to really adopt that and streamline it to fit the District of Columbia's needs. So we truly hope that a lot of the things that we develop in the Green Code and all of our national codes end up becoming part of the national code requirement. Now, I also want to focus on the challenges we've had with the agency 4 years ago, trying to understand the enforcement of green, and it was very challenging for us to deal with that, but we've come a long way now, and the Green Building Act really requires you to, just from a staffing standpoint, have your building reviewer, your green building manager, and your conspector, and we have that now. So we've slowly built up a program from the ground up, and it's more than just me going to meetings and trying to interpret, you know, Green Building Act and code provisions. We truly have a program that works. So at this point, I want to introduce our deputy mayor who will be speaking. Now, Jeff Miller, of course, replaced Victor Hoskins as interim deputy mayor for Planning and Economic Development, where he's responsible for implementing Mayor Gray's vision for jobs and economic development. As interim mayor, Miller heads the Office of Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. It was referred to as DMPEG, which is the district's lead agency in coordinating policies and initiatives with respect to affordable housing, business attraction and retention, as well as workforce and economic development. The DMPEG portfolio includes a development pipeline worth more than $18 billion, not million, billion in private public housing, commercial office, retail, mixed use and park projects, all sizes interspersed throughout the district neighborhoods. Some examples for you. St. Elizabeth's. How many know about St. Elizabeth's? Skyline. East of the river, we have reuse of 66 acres at Walter Reed. Now, Walter Reed, we were all in Vegas, and it was no secret that when in Vegas we meet with all the developers. And DC, of course, so much, it's a hot spot. People want to come here, they want to put their business here. And it was no secret, no surprise rather, that Walter Reed was really the major spot that those businesses want to come and locate. So that's huge on DMPEG's plate over the next few years. But in addition to operating as an agency within the Executive Office of the Mayor, DMPEG is responsible for overseeing a cluster of agencies, including DCRA, Department of Small and Local Business Development, Department of Employment Services, Department of Housing and Community Development, Office of Tenant Advocate even, and the Department of Insurance, Office of Motion Picture Development, and DC Commissioner of Arts and Humanities. Leading the charge, of course, is Deputy Mayor Miller, a seasoned executive with 23 years of experience in banking, finance, and real estate development. As Director of Real Estate for DMPEG, he oversees a portfolio of development in a district that includes 39 projects under construction and 44 for a total development cost of $6.4 billion. At this point, I'd just like to bring Deputy Mayor to the stage.
You've seen the hard work that Keith Anderson and RABBIAH, SABBAKHAN's agencies have done in the sustainability arena. One agency that's not present here today, but should also be recognized, is the Office of Planning, that was very much involved in these sustainability efforts under the leadership of the former director, Harriet Tregoning. And those three agencies have done much of the heavy lifting of this. So thank you to all of you. What a great day for our building industry, and what a great day for the district. Today we're leading the country in this sustainability effort. And why wouldn't we want to lead it? If you're a tenant, wouldn't you want your employees to have a better quality of life? Wouldn't you want to have lower operating costs? Wouldn't you want a healthier and safer work environment? And if you're an owner, the value of your building is going to increase. You're going to attract more tenants, and you're going to be part of this leading movement. At the Office of the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, we are committed to having our projects achieve high levels of performance and push the boundaries of green buildings in the district with innovations such as combined heating and power plants, microgrids, on-site energy production, super efficient buildings, and rooftop beekeeping. I had to give a little plug for my beekeeping friends. I'd like to highlight a few of our exemplary projects. St. E's in Ward 8 is enrolled in the Eco District Target Cities program. And as part of this program, we will be investigating large-scale sustainability solutions such as combined heat and power and stormwater strategies. Yesterday, I saw a presentation of a demonstration aquaponic garden growing system we're going to be putting on the campus. This is basically a closed system with a series of greenhouses that grow vegetables. They're fed by fish waste. And this is such an amazing system. They have these wellness huts in which they're going to be doing spinning classes and yoga. And they're going to pump the carbon dioxide that you create from your spinning class into those greenhouses to feed the plants in there. It's really amazing. Talk about innovative. And the Walter Reed project in Ward 4 is looking at innovative site-wide solutions such as microgrids and on-site energy production. We've set some ambitious goals for Walter Reed to target net zero energy use by 2030, net positive by 2040, 100% gray water reuse by 2020, and 50% landfill waste reduction by 2020. We know these goals are lofty, but they are attainable. A project that's currently under construction right now is at the Southwest Waterfront, we're calling the Wharf. It will include innovative designs that reduce stormwater runoff into the Washington Channel. As Robbie mentioned, numerous efforts have been made toward transforming the district into a green city, but none of it could have been done without the leadership of Mayor Vincent Gray. His groundbreaking Sustainable DC initiative has made tremendous strides in reaching our visionary goal of making the district the healthiest, most livable, and sustainable community in the nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to introduce you to, right now, the Mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Vincent Gray.
Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming out to, I think this is the 3rd annual. And yes, we are leading the nation in sustainability. And I sure wish we were leading the nation in bringing democracy to America. But ladies and gentlemen, the reality is, you know, and I appreciate Robbie talking about our acting as a state, because we do every day. But isn't it time for us to stop acting and actually be a state as we deserve, like everybody else in America, ladies and gentlemen? You know, we had a hearing just last week, before the United States Senate, before Senator Tom Carper, and it's the first time in the history of this city that we've had an opportunity before the United States Senate to make our case for why we should actually bring democracy to the District of Columbia. You know, isn't it ironic, isn't it hypocritical that we go, we go to Afghanistan, we go to Iraq, now we're fighting the battles in Syria, you know, we're taking on ISIS and we're taking on ISIL and we're taking every acronym on that you can imagine, ladies and gentlemen. But the reality is, while we wage those fights to bring freedom and justice and democracy to every other place in the United States, America will not do it in our own nation's capital on behalf of 660,000 people, and it won't happen until we stand up ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, and say, enough is enough, enough of the rhetoric about democracy. Stand up and engage in the principle, support the principle that we try to promote everywhere around the world, ladies and gentlemen, and it ain't going to happen unless we do it ourselves. So, that commercial is brought to you by the District of Columbia, paid for by the Sustainable DC Plan. You know, I want to thank Jeff for such a nice introduction. I want to thank Robbie for his kind words. I want to thank Keith for the leadership that he is providing at DDOE, because we really do have it going on, ladies and gentlemen. We should be very proud about where our city is. And you've heard so much already. You heard it from David. He started us out this morning with an excellent overview of where we are. And one of the good things about these presentations this morning is it's all true, ladies and gentlemen. There's no hype. There's no air in that. There's no greenhouse gases in what you heard this morning. This is all true because our city is moving in the right direction. You know, we're beginning to develop such a rich history for sustainability and being green in the District of Columbia. I had somebody that came in and met with me earlier this week, a group that came in, and they started out, they were very proud. They started out saying that we're doing this thing, you know, we're building this thing, and we're going to be a green building. And they had a picture of it, and they actually had these green vines, this foliage coming down the side of the building. I said, well, I don't know if that's exactly what we mean by green buildings, but you know what? The fact that you have come in with a discussion about that means that we are going in the right direction. People are actually starting to talk about sustainability and know what it means. They're starting to talk about green buildings and know what it means. They're starting to talk about the environment and know what it means. Ladies and gentlemen, the education of people in the District of Columbia is grabbing hold, and the time is near when we will be able to stand up and say, even to our kids in our schools, they will be able to make an informed, eloquent, educated presentation on what it means to be environmentally sound and what a green building means. And that is a testament to the work that has been done by the agencies that we've cited and by the people in this room. So let me applaud you and thank you so much for what you are doing. You know, you've heard about the Green Building Act that we adopted in 2006, and that has helped to set a framework for our progress that we have made. In 2008, we passed the Clean and Affordable Energy Act, which also has advanced the cause. It helped to create, everybody familiar with the DC Sustainable Energy Utility? Everybody familiar with that? Aren't they doing good work over there, helping to lead the effort? And also, there's a number of other things that we have done that you all know about. We got the Distributed Generation Amendment Act of 2011. And by the way, we have had, during this administration, we've probably had 2 or 3 major pieces of legislation. And Jeff, I appreciate you mentioning the beekeeping initiative that we have. It does, ladies and gentlemen, give new meaning to a sting operation in the District of Columbia. I know that was terrible. We've got the Community Renewables Energy Act, which has helped us really be able to create new models and new approaches for solar energy generation here in the city. You know, I love to go over to Dunbar High School and see what's being done with the creation of solar energy at Dunbar High School, or go to the First Baptist Church on Florida Avenue and go up on the roof and look at the solar panels that they have and the pride that they have in creating solar energy, which is driving their use of electricity in the church. I also love our new stormwater regulations. And Keith, I want to congratulate you on the trading, the credit trading, for want of a better way of putting it, program that's been put in place that now is a model for the nation, ladies and gentlemen. They actually, those new regulations actually ensure that we will now better control excessive runoff. And what a lot of people don't understand is the impact it has on cleaning up our waterways in the District of Columbia. You know, the Potomac River, but especially the Anacostia River, which has been polluted since time was created. And we have made a commitment as a part of our Sustainable DC plan to clean up the Anacostia River. And one of the ways to do that, you know, people think you go out and, you know, just put some chemicals in the river and that will clean it up. Yeah, I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. But you know what? Being able to control stormwater runoff, to get that water into cisterns and be able to recycle that water, to be able to reuse it, is going to be able to be a way in which we control not only just stormwater runoff, but we control the quality of our rivers, our waterways, our Anacostia River in the District of Columbia. A lot of people don't realize, but only 18% of the Anacostia River is actually in the District of Columbia. So we've got to be able to proselytize, we've got to be able to advocate with our neighbors in the surrounding area, because the majority of the Anacostia River is in Maryland. And unless our neighbors actually do what it is we're trying to do, we will be like Sisyphus, pushing a rock up a hill with our nose and then watching it roll right back down and start the process all over again. How many of you have ever taken the boat trip down the Anacostia River from Bladensburg? Anybody ever done that? How many of you have not done it? You need to do it, ladies and gentlemen. It is really a thrilling experience. It is, it really is. I did it one Saturday morning, and you actually don't even know you're in the city. But I'll tell you what you do know. you know when you cross the boundary from Maryland into D.C. Because when you leave Maryland and go into D.C., you actually see a much cleaner Anacostia River. The work that's being done with the Anacostia River is having an impact. And our green building standards are contributing to that, because when you control stormwater runoff, you control the cleanup of the Anacostia River. And our green building standards, our work around stormwater runoff, the work that's being done by DDOE in that regard is having a major difference. The problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen, is this. And that is, so many people don't really understand yet what sustainability means. I had a policymaker who came in, this was a couple of years ago, a policymaker, a lawmaker who came into my office, and I was just going on, I was waxing eloquent about the things that we were doing and whatnot, and the person stopped me and said, "What is sustainability?" And I realized I actually thanked the person for asking me that question, because we take for granted that people understand all of this terminology, that they understand all the efforts that we're making, and they are embracing it. Yet we still have an enormous education job to do, despite the fact that we are actually making progress. So, you know, when you look at our sustainability plan, you look at what we're doing with transportation, and yes, we are going to open a streetcar line this year. Our Council of the District of Columbia took 78% of the budget out this past for fiscal year 15, but we are moving to make sure that the 8th Street line is open, and we need the advocacy of people in this city to say that this is a clean, efficient, environmentally sound form of transportation, and we need to be able to have streetcars in the city in order to move people around in a clean and efficient way. Frankly, we used to have streetcars in the District of Columbia, right? And most everybody in here probably doesn't remember streetcars. And if you do, you probably don't want to admit it because it was so long ago, and that'll put a number on who, you know, where you are in life at this stage. But the fact of the matter is, it was one of the biggest mistakes that was ever made to eliminate streetcars from this city. And we've got to be able to move to develop a streetcar system all across the city. And what about our tree canopy? We have made a tremendous commitment. All of this, by the way, contributes to our green building standards in the District of Columbia. You know, you heard already that we have adopted, and you're right, Robbie, we have lagged behind. You know, I used to get so tired. I'm a native Washingtonian, you all. I used to get so tired of people saying, and the District of Columbia, you know, well, they're going to come along one day. You know, they're going to get better at whatever it was, anything you want, even including baseball, okay? Anybody remember that statement? First in war, first in peace, last in the American League. But you know what? We figured it out. We're not last in the American League anymore because we're now in the National League. And we're now first in the National League. And we're first in so many things at this stage because we are one of the greatest cities now in the world. I assume that everybody knows, because you've heard it this morning, and that is our commitment to be the greenest, the healthiest, and the most livable city, soon to be the greenest, healthiest, and most livable state in America. And I assume that you all know that, and I hope you are using the same words as well, because it makes a tremendous impression on what our commitment is. We created a 20-year horizon, and I actually think that we're going to get there before 20 years are up. 2032 is a year. When you look at the report, how many of you all have read the report card on Sustainable DC? How many of you brought it with you today because you just don't leave home without it? I'm sorry, Keith, that will not get you a raise, okay? Yeah, you better have yours. It actually does chronicle. We have made, when you do the math, we actually are a little bit ahead of the trajectory to get to where we're trying to get to over 20 years. And we have already started, I think, or have progress on, completed some, but started everyone, I think about 80% of these initiatives are underway already. And we had some important milestones just within the last week. The EPA, everybody familiar with the EPA? Who's not familiar with the Environmental Protection Agency in this room? Who wouldn't admit it if they didn't know? The reality is that we were just accorded yet another honor this week. We had in the past year, we used over 1.2 billion kilowatt hours of green power. We made a commitment a little, that is astounding, ladies and gentlemen. We made a commitment a little over a year ago that all the power that would be used by the District of Columbia in our buildings, that we were at 50%, and we said we're going to go to 100%. And folks said, yeah, right. And we actually did it, ladies and gentlemen. We actually now have 100% of our power is green power in the District of Columbia. 1.2 billion kilowatt hours being used. And we were just named as first in the nation in the use of green power. That is the third consecutive year that we have been named #1 in the nation. And I want you all to go out of this building when you leave today and just talk to anybody on the street that you can possibly talk to and say, we're first in the nation in the use of green power. And there are some people who will say, fantastic, let me give you 5. And there were a bunch of people who would say, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but please tell me. We also now have 100 million square feet of LEED certified space. And that's not just the public sector. That's the public and private sector. And I really want to thank the private sector because from the time the Green Buildings Act was adopted, this was embraced by the private sector, and if it hadn't, we would be lagging way behind where we are now. And in fact, we have 155 square feet per capita of LEED certified space in the District of Columbia, which is the most for any city and frankly for any state in America, and that is something about which we can be mighty proud. I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the STAR rating system. I assume everybody is now familiar with the STAR rating system, right? Well, we just got news, was it this week or last week, Keith? Last Friday, 1 week ago today, that we are the third highest in the nation, behind only Northampton, Massachusetts, and I don't know where Northampton, Massachusetts is, but I do know where Seattle, Washington is. That's the other Washington on the other coast. Those are the two that are ahead of us. And on your behalf, I have issued the challenge and say, Seattle and Northampton, we're coming for you next because we are going to be first in the nation in the STAR rating system. You know, if I sound enthusiastic about this, it's because I am. Because I know we're on the right track. It is important for us to be able to improve our economic wherewithal here in the city, and we have. We have, right, Jeff? We've got building going on everywhere in the city. And frankly, virtually every building being built now is a green building. You know, our financial condition is the best that it has been in the history of this city. We have almost $2 billion in our reserve funds in the District of Columbia now. And frankly, it is creating a stability that has resulted in ratings, some of the highest ratings. We have AAA ratings on our income tax secured bonds now in the District of Columbia, and it's because the reserves we've been able to amass. Our education system is improving. It is improving tremendously, ladies and gentlemen. We now have, by the way, the most robust early childhood education program in America, where 80% of our 3-year-olds now go to school all day, every day. 94% of our 4-year-olds go to school all day, every day. That is a tremendous step forward and an opportunity for us to expose these kids at the very earliest stages to what it means to be environmentally sound and what a green building means. They can learn it in ways that they probably wouldn't at a later stage at these very early points. The fact of the matter is that we have a city that we can be very proud of, a safe city, and we have a city that, frankly, has made the right commitment on green buildings, the right commitment on sustainability, the right commitment on what it means to be environmentally sound. And we should stand up, frankly, and be proud and talk about it. You know, I joke about it a lot, but embedded in the levity that oftentimes is a part of my presentation is a very serious point. And that is, we are the District of Columbia. We are going to be a state one day, and we are to be taken seriously because we are on the right path. We are not following others anymore. We are setting the tone, and on the issue of sustainability, we have every reason to be proud. Keep doing what you're doing, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great day today, and let's march on and lead the rest of the nation in what it means to be a sustainable jurisdiction. Thank you all very much.